Hey, buddy, good to see you.
Man, thank you for having me. What a blessing, man. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, it is a blessing to have you here. You're here in my home library study.
Yes.
And you've been playing piano and everybody.
Yes.
Your sister came along too.
She
what
did.
A great day. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Good to
Thank
see
you,
you.
man. Happy Thanksgiving. If I play a 20-second song on the piano, will they be able to hear the audio?
Oh, they'll be able to hear it. Totally.
Let's start off with a little
cool.
music.
Cool.
We got the grand tuning piano here. I'll play the one with you.
So tell our viewers about who you are. And I mean, many of you probably already know Maejor, but Maejor and I became friends a few years ago in Peru.
In Peru, yes.
We were sitting on a bus together.
Yes.
I was right behind you.
That was cool. Yes, that was a crazy random way to become friends. But yes, my name is Maejor. I'm mostly known as musicians, and I love music. I've been creating and working in the music industry since I was 16, just like working in the rap, pop, country, electronic, just mainstream music. And I started on this journey of trying to figure out how it can, how does sound affect people, how does vibration and things affect people. We travel to all these sacred sites around the world, and that's where I met you in Peru. I learned about Machu Picchu, and we went with the group, the Resonance group. And we, at that moment, it was like we were kind of having the same intentions, but just coming from two different worlds, and it was just like it was an awesome moment to me. And since then we've stayed in touch and done many things. Since then I've implemented some of the work and some of the things that we've learned in these trips, some of the mathematics into the music. And so now my vision is bringing sound healing into pop music.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
So tell us, how do you bring sound healing into pop music?
Yeah.
First of all, like definitely a big goal.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you think of something like that? It's like you sit around and go, I'm going to bring sound healing into mainstream pop music.
Yeah. No, it's crazy because the way that I got started in doing this was because first I saw, I'm a cancer survivor. And I had a vision before I had leukemia that I wanted to make an impact in the world, a positive impact. I knew that. I always had that. And I was thinking that, this music was coming fairly easy to me, and I'm getting a career in music and I'm earning money this way. Okay, so my vision, I'm gonna open up these centers and I'm gonna do all these things with the money from the music. That's what I was seeing as was my clear path. And then the cancer kind of came in and just threw that for a loop, because at a moment I was thinking, I don't even know if I would make it to that point, like time-wise. And so like I started thinking of ways I could have an immediate impact. And I was at the show. I got blessed to produce for many awesome artists, and one of the best and most frequent collaborators I worked with, Justin Bieber. And I was at his show in Mexico City, and I was standing on the stage, like behind the stage, watching him perform, and hundreds of thousands of people in the audience, all saying words that we wrote and created in a room just like this with just us. So I recognized, like, whoa, there's a power in the music itself. For some reason I hadn't made that connection. Because I was making music without really an intention. I wouldn't say I was an awake person. I was just making music that sounded cool, and I was getting money. This is great. Hey, it wasn't any thought behind what is it giving people, how is it making people feel. It was a very just I was just in the flow, which was necessary to get me to that point in my path. But at that moment, I realized I had a big shift, and it was like the world almost kind of stopped. And I was like, this is it. Through this music, I'm gonna make an impact. And so my first theory was, let me try to write lyrics that are super inspirational and positive. And my sales plummeted. Flopped. everything started flopping. Like when I was just saying, let's dance, la la la, let's have fun. Sales up millions. Once I started saying like, let's be, be better, change ourselves,
There's a lesson in that.
Fail. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say fail, but I noticed a significant drop in the number and in the reach. And now that made me sad because I'm thinking, oh man, I got this purpose. How is this not connected? And I realized I had to take it a step deeper. I had to not just think about what I'm saying, I had to think about how the vibration and sound itself is affecting people. And so I wanted to be able to find ways that I could say anything. I could say la la la, let's go party. But through the science and through the sound and through, it would be having an impact on people. So that's kind of what led me down the entire rabbit hole, which ended up meeting you and many like other people who have kind of helped me along the way with that, is because, I was kind of stuck. I felt like I have this thing I want to give. I know the music is powerful and I'm in this unique position to do this, but, the journey has been awesome, but we recently, it's really cool because I've met so many people, and I've also learned that many other artists today share an intention of that. We just don't know how. A lot of people don't even know what is frequency, what is sound. People don't even know really what that is. And I didn't. And I had worked as a so-called professional musician for 10, 15 years. I had no clue what any of that stuff was or how it would affect us. But we all know kind of intuitively, if you think about, you go to the gym, you play a different music than you gotta play when you go to sleep, so we have our own language of how, or if we're going on a date, we play a different song. So we have our own kind of language, but I was thinking about how can we gotta get a little more specific with it. And, so it's been a great journey, and I hope it's forever evolving.
Well, first of all, for those of you that are only hearing Maejor speak for the first time, you have to know this guy has a massive heart. He really has. He's like all love. He reminds me of my very, very good friend Boaz, who you met on the
Yes, I love Boaz. He was awesome.
And it's just like all heart and all love all the time. And that's one of the things I just really love about you, because you bring that energy, that very high vibration, frequency, to whatever it is that you're doing, whatever interaction you're having. So you've been working with like mainstream people for a long time.
Mainstream, right? Yes. Most of the people you hear in the radio.
Really?
Yeah.
So like, can you give us an example of, besides Justin Bieber?
Justin, Drake, like Lil Wayne, Rascal Flatts.
Oh, I love like too, yeah.
People from all different genres, Martin Garrix, Selena Gomez.
So what do you do? What does it mean for you to work with them?
So mostly I was a music producer. Mm-hmm. So that means I was creating the soundscape, the music behind their singing. Wow. And then I started from working with Neo, started learning how to do songwriting. So I was at one point making the music and the words for, pop stars to sing. I would do what's called a demo version, which is like, I don't know if people know how it works, but basically you have someone else sing the song as a presentation to say, Beyonce or anyone says, hey, listen to this song, and if she likes it, she'll take that person's voice off and she'll re-record it. Sometimes, do little things, but that's kind of what my vision was, and just creating something for another artist. And in creating the demos, I got blessed with the opportunity those artists to say, we like your version. So I started even releasing my own songs. So it was, but I started off just making the music background for other people.
So I remember when we were in Peru, you were talking about releasing your own music.
Yes.
Which now you've done.
Yes.
Dude.
Yes, thank you. Big thanks to you guys, for helping it even just inspire on that path. Because I had learned about it mostly through people in the spiritual community, which I think is great, but I was lacking some of the math community that you guys added on. So that was big. Thank you for that. Yeah.
So I remember the day we were sitting in the bus and you said, I'm thinking about switching over and trying some 432 hertz music, but it doesn't always sound that great, right? And then like I think I showed you a paper that I'd written on 432 hertz,
right there,
like the geometry of 432 hertz.
Yes.
And what were you thinking about that when you read that?
Well, for me, it was just confirmation, because like I said, at that point I was on the edge. I had heard about it from a completely different context, like very spiritually, synchronistically I had heard about it. And then you showed me, hey, I have a paper showing this mathematically. So for me, it was just like such a confirmation of like, this is I'm in the right path, because that's exactly what I needed to. I didn't want to bring out something to people that didn't have also a basis in some type of math. I didn't want it to just be completely just. I didn't want to be, too considered woo or anything like that, because I'm not really that kind of person. I am a spiritual person, but I also like to see something that can.
Got to be logic behind it.
Some type of logic. So for me, that was big in showing. Yeah, and that's awesome how it all lined up right there. Like how you had already written a paper. This guy wrote a paper about the frequency I was thinking about making. So yeah, that was really big.
Oh, really my pleasure. It's such a joy for me to see how you've adopted so much of that understanding too, even to the art. You just launched a clothing line.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys haven't made to understand. This guy's like, he's really not only a really successful musician, now is a solo artist himself. And he's launched a fantastic album. My daughter is probably his biggest fan, no joke.
Yeah,
she's like listening to his music all the time.
Yeah.
But not only that, but you're also like an effective CEO in a very challenging industry.
Yeah.
With lots and lots of different aspects and complications, I guess, with the way musicians get treated in today's world, how they are monetized very differently in the Apple age versus how it has been, for many, many years before.
Absolutely.
Everything has changed. Like literally everything has changed. So how have you been able to navigate through this world so successfully?
Yes.
Yesterday, you just told me a story that you were at someone's house.
Yeah.
If you're okay telling the story, maybe you're not.
Yeah. No. It's crazy. This world is crazy because it's constantly, like you said, we're living in a new time. We're living in a new time, a new era. And I was gonna say about the technology and how it's changed things, and how you're saying. We actually connected before Peru, and it wasn't directly, but I watched the documentary you funded. Sonic Geometry, and that was one of the things as I first started down my path.
No way.
That was one of the first things I watched.
Everything is interconnected.
Yes.
Everything.
So this shows you right there, like we were actually connected. So if anyone hasn't watched that, watch Sonic Geometry. It was you actually.
Eric Rank and I was the executive producer for the second one in the series, and Eric and I had dinner with him a few weeks ago. Fantastic guy, super smart guy, and that's so funny because I remember you saying, "Wait a minute, you were the guy that did Sonic Geometry?" So I was like, "Yeah."
Yes, and that documentary talks about how sound and matter interact and how all these different. And so that was one of my first experiences with that. So to be sitting here with you right now is crazy. It's tripping me out.
Tripping me out. So you've been so successful with this whole mainstream crowd and dealing with the business side of this.
Yes.
And also being a grounded and yet very spiritually minded person.
Yes.
Who is kind of be the change you want to see in the world, right?
Thank you.
It's kind of a very, you said Bob Marley, you mentioned Bob Marley earlier, and I'm a big fan of Bob Marley.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But how do you navigate this world that can kind of be seen as very fast paced and kind of cutthroat at times? How do you navigate that world?
I think it's important to stay present. I think that the world is crazy, and especially entertainment, and in these days there's a lot of energy forces coming in to try to. But I think the more we're able to stay present, and for me that involves like a meditative practice in the morning. Also, I've been taking cold showers.
I take cold showers
To get it. You do?
I didn't know you did too.
Wow.
Because I don't know if you follow Ayurveda.
Yes.
Right? And in the Ayurvedic tradition, and I'm good friends with Deepak.
Wow.
And Deepak was telling me you need to take cold showers based on the type of person that I am, my makeup, my anatomy, and everything. I'm a kid, right?
Yeah.
So fire. So cold showers. I don't always start with cold.
Yeah.
I kind of ease into it, but at the end I go full cold.
Full cold.
And that really refreshes me and makes me awake for the day.
And for me, it brings me present.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I'm staying present in this matrix, I'm fine. But once I lose my presence and I wake up and I'm immediately reaching for the phone, I'm immediately right into that world. It can be overwhelming. And I have gone down that path before, and It's not somewhere I want to go anymore. So now I just make sure the presence and make sure my practice is important, and then from there everything else was flow for me.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So as far as the business side of this stuff goes, how are people receiving this idea? I mean, you just launched this new
project,
album, right? This new project. You got these awesome songs, right? Life.
Yes.
Which my daughter loves. I love. You have another song, I Love You.
Yes.
It's also done in 432. You have 24.
Yes.
Right?
We have. It's cool.
So why did you choose 24? By the way, that's a very important number
24.
to me. I don't know if you know this, but
no, I didn't know that.
Oh, 24 is like the entire world is based, as a mathematician, on mod 24.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Wow, see, I didn't know that.
So before after, actually, it wasn't that long after, it was before I met you, I discovered the prime number pattern, right? And so the prime number pattern was found on mod 24.
Wow.
It's all based on 24.
Yeah, so we're all connected. No, I didn't name it.
So when I saw that, I was like, 24, wow,
that's
cool, because everything is based on 24. There's a whole longer discussion, and it's reciprocal, right, is also 42. So 1 over 24, it's the only number that has this unique characteristic where 1 over 24 equals 42, 1 over 42 equals 24.
Wow.
It's just 0.42, right? So it's a mirror.
Wow.
And it's also the palindrome. Palindrome is also, the 24's palindrome would be 42. So it's this very unique thing.
That's cool.
Right? And 2 to the 4th power is also 4 to the 2nd power.
Wow. 2
to the 4th power, like 24, another way of writing 24, is also 4 to the 2nd power, 16. They both come out to 16. So 24 is this really, really, really important number to me. So when I saw that your album came out and it had 24, I was like, what? You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
That whole thing that you took, that design that I had drawn on.
Yes. I should have worn that chain.
The waves, right?
Necklace, yes.
The wave necklace thing that you had made, so beautifully done. I can't remember the name of the artist that did it. She's so talented.
Yes, Indigo.
Indigo, that's right, Indigo. Yeah. She reached out to me once. Super sweet lady. But that is all based on 24 too.
Wow.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
I'm telling you, everything is connected. Everything is connected. So, how has the music industry taken this idea that you've had to mainstream this healing through 132 hertz frequency?
So I'm gonna be honest. When I first came up with this idea, I was talking to you. I was signed to Universal Music, and I came back and I came to the meeting and I said, guys, I realized, my purpose and this, and like I want to bring sound healing into the mainstream. I'm gonna, like this is what we can do with the music. This music really affects people. And they looked kind of like I was an alien. I was in the boardroom, like all of these like executive guys, and they were just looking at me like it did not resonate. It did not resonate in that building. Thankfully, there was one guy who just believed in me because of what I had done musically, and he was able to see I had success producing stuff, and he was just like, let's just kind of let him do it. And so I had a vision of, because of Nikola Tesla, we talked about earlier, volume 1 frequency, volume 2 energy, volume 3 vibration. And that's based off Nikola's statement that if you wish to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration. So I had these 3 projects that I said, these are the 3 names, and I'm gonna explore different frequencies in each volume. And so they said, and I said, I'm only have 1 album with Universal. Let's just do this one, let's just try it. Like this one guy said, great. It was the first time that an album has in music history that has been like written on there, the frequency of the song promoted through a major label, and one of the tracks is already gonna go. This has millions of plays already. One of them's been playing in it's been spreading around in Europe. I Love You. The first one. That's the first one we released. It's gone gold already. And it's the first time that this music is really making it in a mainstream way, in the sense of like being played on radio stations next to songs that have nothing to do with it. So they've been more than, all those guys more than made their money back. They more than did all that. So it's great now that, after it's been able to have a good launch pad, now were able to kind of step outside of the system, which was great for that time. But now I'm able to connect with people like yourself, with other people who don't see it as an alien idea, who see it as, wait a minute, this is almost the future. This is how it's obviously makes sense. Frequency, sound, things do affect us. And the more intentional and conscious we are about how we use that, I think it's the better for everyone. So now it's like, ever since I've gone from that, it's just like opportunities keep presenting themselves to keep, getting this message out there, which is beautiful, which is great.
That's so awesome.
Yes.
That's so awesome. So you're, I think, just like #1 song or something in France, right?
Yes.
This last summer.
Was playing 17 times a day in French radio, which means this frequency is getting bathed all through the whole city.
Was this I Love You?
I Love You.
I Love You.
Yes. Wow. And it features a beautiful Colombian artist who synchronistically came into the song. I didn't even know her. I wrote the song thinking, I don't know if they're good. Like, it's simple. One of the biggest Colombian stars, her name's Gracie, heard the song somehow before it came through someone's friend that's this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a part of it. So that added more, international, because, she's speaking Spanish in the song.
Yeah, totally.
And so
she's great too. She's
great.
Fantastic voice. Fantastic. And then you have a French guy in one of your songs on live.
Yes.
And I love how, and I think it's a genius move, because France has laws. I used to live in France.
Yeah.
Has laws on how much percentage of music is not French speaking.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
So does that mean that this song gets to be treated as a French song?
Yes, it does.
Oh, that's
and because we recorded it in France, they have laws basically. You have to play French music in the radio. So
that's why in the song the lyrics say I wrote it in Paris.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was wondering
you gotta make sure
it's even in the lyrics.
It's even there, yeah.
That is so
you get
awesome.
a different pay, it's great. And they have a percentage of radio needs to be songs there.
Yeah, 40% has to be, because they want to maintain their language. Because language is their culture. Right?
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
And the French language is so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. It should be maintained. I love that language. It's one of my favorite languages to speak, actually. It's such a cool. There's ways to describe things in French that you just cannot describe. They have 5 different ways to say of course. Right? So I used to use this system on how I learn languages, right? And I speak several languages. And the way I would learn languages is I would listen. I wouldn't follow the Rosetta Stone thing. I don't believe in that. What I would do is I would try to listen to the words I'd hear the most often. And so, for example, the first time I went to Japan, first word I learned, because I heard it the most often, was dame, right? Dame, which means that's forbidden. It's not allowed. Whatever I was doing. By the way, it was the same in Germany too. The first time I landed in Germany at the airport at Frankfurt, I was going to move there. I was going to live in Germany. And I look down and I see the airplane hangar at the airport in Frankfurt, and it said verboten written on the side. Forbidden, right? Forbidden. I'm like, and I go to get a car, and I'm like, we're getting a rental car, and I try to park it in this spot, and this guy goes, das Parkplatz ist verboten. You're not allowed to park there, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to France, and the first word you hear all the time is, in contrast, right? Tout à fait, mais oui, bah bien sûr. Everything is of course. German doesn't even have a way to say of course. They have to say naturally, which is like naturally. That's the only way to say of course in German. But in French, they have so many ways to say of course because everything's possible. And it says so much about the culture. So think about France as a culture full of entrepreneurs. Germany's not. It's more big companies, right, that are already well established. And you drive around the Arc de Triomphe. There's no freaking lines. It's like, well, it's a complete shit show. Right? Everyone's like driving like they can hit each other. You have no idea if it's right. You go to Germany, that is so never gonna happen, right? So structured, so organized.
Do you view language as a reflection of a culture or what shapes the culture?
I think it's hard to separate.
It's hard to separate.
So
both.
The word that you learn in Switzerland first was précisément, because everything is precision based, precisely. So they wouldn't say, like in Germany, the 2 words I learned first were verboten and genau, right? Genau means exactly. So this is a culture that really values exactitude and what rules should be obeyed. right? Whereas France was not. It was like, of course, anything's possible. Don't worry about it. It's like, this is the joie de vivre, right? They don't have a concept in the same way in Germany as joie de vivre.
Yeah.
They would say it in French before they would try to explain it. But interestingly, in Switzerland, the word was précisément. So I lived in Switzerland for a while too, and précisément, because these are watchmakers. They're focused on precision, right? And very, very detailed precision.
Wow.
And so they don't even really have to have police there because everyone will self-police.
Wow.
If they see someone speeding through a neighborhood, they'll write down the license plate like everyone's a cop. It's just a different world, right? Yeah. Completely the opposite when you cross the border into France, from Geneva into Gaillard, which is on the French side. Completely different world.
That's so interesting. Language as a frequency code of a geographic grid, right? Of a location. That's the code. That's the frequency, and even you can hear it in different tones, in the different how different cultures use different actual tones of the voice.
Like Chinese.
Yeah. We'll use different cultures, different tones with different things. It's crazy how we are so conditioned frequency as a communication device, as our vision, as everything we do. It's like it only makes sense to me that it's organized that way in music. It only makes sense. It's just inevitable. So I'm happy to be just part of one of the people kind of bringing it in. But obviously it was known by the Egyptians when we went there.
No doubt.
Like we saw in the pyramids. Like.
So tell me about that trip. How was that trip for you? It was the coolest thing when we're standing outside the bus and I kind of looked at him and I said, I don't know what's going to happen. Like we might get taken up or something. He's like, let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, no, that was... Yeah, let's go.
I was kind of joking. He's like, I'm not joking.
Let's go, man. Let's go. I'm ready for it. No, that trip was unbelievable. When we went into...
You even filmed a music video while you were there.
I filmed a music video on the YouTube. Yeah. 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was unbelievable to go. I don't know how these guys got some secret access to go. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you can say it. Yeah.
They got some secret access that we went into the pyramids at like midnight or something. Completely.
All three pyramids.
Only
the second time in history.
Yeah.
That's been done.
And just hearing one thing that stood out to me, there was two things, because I was looking through the lens of sound. So, and it's always, we see what we're looking for, always. Anyway, so two things that stood out to me. There was a guy, they had those big basins next to the pyramids. I don't know if you remember, but the guy said that basically how much water would be inside of the basin, they could change the frequency of the pyramid, almost like a glass. You put water, you hit it, you pour some out, it's gonna be a different tone. There's huge basins next to the pyramids that the guy was saying they used to...
It's like a water dampener on a speaker.
Exactly. To change the tone and the frequency. So that showed me these people valued sound. They were doing something that was... And then hearing those ohms when we were all as a group ohming in the King's Chamber, there was a resonance and a sound that I hadn't heard before. So something about the shape of the space and the way that it resonated, it was just, it was really enlightening for me. How was it for you?
Dude, I mean, it was my, that night was my fourth night in the pyramids.
Wow. And
the next time I went, they gave me the key. So the very next night, like 2 nights later, I went again, right? They gave me the key. I'm like, I got a key.
Yeah. Wow.
It's like, I don't know. I guess if you stay 5 nights, you get a key. I don't know. But it was... Or
to make a discovery, like you, I mean...
Yeah, we made discoveries. And they had known, you know, because we found the Alpha and Omega, which you probably saw in the rim, the sarcophagus that night.
Crazy.
And
crazy.
But it was, it's such an amazing feeling in there. And sound does travel differently in there. I don't know if you know this, but you know why sound travels differently in there?
No, why?
Well, first of all, the speed of sound in air is 343 meters per second.
Right.
Right? But through granite, the speed of sound is 6,000 meters per second. So sound travels 17 and a half times faster through granite than it does through air.
Dude, that's crazy.
So something's going on, right? You're talking about a very advanced resonance chamber that has these perfect dimensions geometrically to resonate sound in a way that you wouldn't find anywhere else probably on the planet.
Dude, you just gave me some thoughts about like how to reduce latency, perhaps maybe
through granite.
Sending it through, instead of sending it through air, sending it through. I don't know. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
That's an interesting idea.
That's a common problem that's happening.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I have it with my sound system at home. When you've got too far of a distance, right? Well, there's technologies that you can use to try to make up for that.
Delay compensation.
Right, delay compensation, but it's never perfect.
But it's cool to see that, yeah, like things travel differently based off of the material that they're in the space. And that's one thing that I learned from that Egypt trip. I felt like things were almost, and I don't know if this is the right word, but I feel like things were manifesting differently in that space. And I don't know if that's how the discoveries that you guys made were able to happen, or how was that? Because I noticed there was things that you guys discovered there that had not been seen previously. How does that happen?
I think it's a collective consciousness that's shifting right now. Like if you kind of look at the world, I mean, this year, I remember 2 years ago, and right after coming back from Peru, I remember I came back, you guys you stayed over Thanksgiving, I think. You were there for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And I came back like a few days early, because I had to be home with my family for Thanksgiving. And I remember watching the Macy's Day Parade. And I remember telling Susie, I was like, man, I feel like I'm stuck in Groundhog Day. Like I turn on Macy's Day Parade and it's the same as I saw last year, the same as I saw the year before, same as I saw the year before that. And I remember saying, don't you feel like we're kind of in this rerun kind of a thing? Until yesterday, which I turned on Macy's Day Parade, I was like, we're not in the rerun anymore.
Something shifted.
Something's different, right? Obviously COVID happened and everyone talks about 2020 and clear vision and everything, but I think beyond just what we all have experienced with lockdowns and everything this past year, at least for myself, I have a lot to feel grateful for, because it gave me an opportunity to have time alone and spend more time with my family that I had never been able to do before. I had no travel for the last year, right? It's been 4 seasons now that we have gone full circle on.
Yes. Everyone I talk to is having that same experience, and I think that's leading to probably some sort of consciousness expansion. This is a time where people had to go internally, and
people are asking the bigger questions. I think.
Yeah, which I think is beautiful. It's almost like we needed that. We needed that to shift. Everyone I've talked to literally has grown so much from this experience, which is, we only grow through challenging things, right? It's always like that, growing pain, lift weights, gotta put the heavy weight on to get bigger muscles. So no, it makes sense that this is all coming out now. And I find like going back to what you asked me earlier, right now doing what I'm doing with the music is received way differently than it was even when I was trying to release it 2 years ago. For whatever reason, it just wasn't coming out then. I don't know if it just wasn't the right time. Obviously, I believe things happen in divine time. It just wasn't, I was not able to get it out. I had a lot of the material completed, just for whatever reason, I kept hitting block after block. And then for some reason during this time is when a lot of these new things and new mathematics are coming with, new ideas. I feel like I'm more open to that. And I'm noticing artists in my community.
Even in the mainstream,
artists in my community are asking me about it. They're like, oh, what's that? It's almost like if you show a painter that there's new colors, they're gonna be like, wow, that's interesting.
Didn't you say like one of those artists also was getting an award or something? They're speaking on a podium at some like award kind of a thing and saying, hey, Maejor is really into this new music stuff.
Yes, that was Justin. Yes, Justin had a event at, and this was right before lockdown. He had like his big music industry event where he was showing his new film, YouTube series, and they had all the top people in the industry. And he stood me. I was the only person he said something to. He said, hey, guys, if you want to learn about sound healing and stuff like this, Maejor is studying this. And obviously with Justin being so like on top at that moment, all of the people in the industry were like, I want to know what that's about. So it instantly, like, it shows how in just a small space, a small room, you can reach critical people who are influential in a certain environment. And that time it was in the music business. And from that moment, a lot of this information was be able to, I'm not sure if everyone is able to fully absorb everything at that moment, but at least seeds were planted that previously they maybe had never heard of. And so I feel like this is rising to the consciousness of a lot of people, which is perfect. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing if we can make a small change in music and accompany that with a different, higher order intention? Like your lyrics, I love the thing I love about your lyrics is that they're easy to understand, but very profound. So it's very inspirational to listen to the words, and you know the lyrics from some of your songs. I'm trying to think of which one it is. Maybe it's 24, but the lyrics have a very high order associated with them about self-introspection and going to the next level and finding love.
Oh yeah.
And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I think that you hit it right on the head. Intention. Even going to Ayurveda, one of the things that they talked about was when the chef is preparing the food, his intention or his or her intention goes into the energy of what you're eating, like that. You know, what their energy goes into it. And so I felt that was just the natural progression in the music as we started the company Intentional Media, which is all about that, and it's about being very mindful of just what energy we want to put out. So in music, I look at it a little bit like some of the songs. Some of the songs are just completely stream of consciousness, which is just a flow of just where I'm at in my life, and some of that is less polished, it's less right or wrong, it's just what it is. And some of those I look back at later on, I'm like, but it just was a moment where I was. And then a lot of them I look at as these will live on much past my life in this physical form. Like these are energy transmissions that people can hear in thousands of years. And one of the things I'm so glad you recognize that is that simplicity is like a main key that I've noticed. If you want to do that, if you want to reach people that in a way they can understand, I try to say it in the simplest way so that as language evolves and changes, it will still be something that I believe people will be able to perceive in many generations. So for me, it's important that I put, even though the sales went down when I put inspirational, too much inspirational, so I'm finding the balance. It's important that I have something in there that leaves a legacy, you know, of what I really want to stand for.
That is so awesome. Well, your story is a beautiful story. I have one last question for you. What is it that inspires you?
I'm inspired by the idea of being an inspiration. So I feel my purpose is to inspire. And the more that I can do that, I feel like I'm walking my purpose. So yeah, I'm inspired by inspiration. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
it's like that cycle, right? It's like a loop.
It's a loop.
If I'm inspired by that,
the more what you give is what you will get back, right?
Yeah.
In the universe. And I think that's absolutely true. It's so great seeing you, my friend.
Yes.
And
thank you.
I'm so excited for your album and everything and for all your success, and very excited to see what you will be inspired to do to bring this intention and frequency to the entire world through mainstream.
Thank you.
And I'll do whatever I can to help.
Before we go, what inspires you?
What inspires me? You know, actually moments like this inspire me because I could go through a whole list of books and quotes and all that kind of stuff, which I kind of post a lot already on, but it's moments like this that inspire me because having these kind of discussions on real people who have had real life journeys and have faced challenges through their life. Right? Like you said, you faced cancer. I mean, that's a really scary challenge that someone would have to face. And I have overcome it and then are able to tell their story and look back on everything with gratitude. And even though not everything in your life prior was perfect, you know, someone asked me the other day, they said, do you think that you have regrets? And I said, well, you know, to me, it's kind of like a butterfly. Does a butterfly regret the time it was a caterpillar?
Wow. You can't.
Probably not, right? It probably says, I'm so grateful that I had all those experiences so that I could end up becoming and expressing who I am now. So there's no mistakes that can be made, right? We're not making mistakes. It's just we have learnings. And when we look at life from the perspective of There are no mistakes. There's only learnings that we have. The
I love
only
that.
mistake could ever be is if we didn't learn,
As if we didn't learn.
right? And I think that's what the universe provides this experience for us for, so that we can see those patterns that keep coming at us over and over and over again, so we can finally learn.
That's powerful right there. That's you just hit it. You just hit it exactly in the head. That's everything I've been going through. It's a pattern, and then we can learn the lesson and see it. Yep, that's it. Thank you, man.
You inspired me, brother.
You're the best, man. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Peace.